Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts, because this is the internet and that's how it works now. I'm Noah, and I'm going to be leading this excavation, but digging is hard and I don't want to do it, so I brought along a few strong backs. First up, two guys who assumed X mark in the spot meant that they were going to find porn there, Cecil and Heath.
Well, Noah, with enough lube, everything is porn.
Okay. All right.
With enough porn, everything is lube? I don't know.
Philosophical. I like it.
All right. And also joining us tonight, two men who got kicked off their last dig site for screaming bone fight every time they found anything, Tom and Eli.
Okay, but if you don't announce it, how will everyone know it's okay to join in?
Yeah, and we brought our own skeletons from home. It's bullshit.
And before we get going tonight, I want to remind you that pretending to know about shit is a really hard field to break into. So if this falls apart, we're all the way fucked.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't help on a resume, which is why we love our patrons so much. If you'd like to become a patron, you should be sure to stick around to the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Eli, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
We'll be talking about the collapse of the Bronze Age.
All right, Cecil, you read page 2 on Wikipedia and are now going to summarize one of the most diffuse and complicated subjects in the entire field of historical science, huh?
I mean, I'm going to say we aren't really sure what happened 6 different ways. Let's not pretend this is complex, Noah.
Okay, all right. Well, now that you've undersold it, how about you oversell it? Give us the hard sell.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about the Bronze Age collapse, which was a multi-nation societal collapse in the 12th century BCE that took place in the Eastern Mediterranean. This collapse took out several nations, reducing them to lesser states or casting their societies into dark ages.
Now, one day we're going to unearth a Bronze Age large language model and all these pieces just fall into place.
I love that this is like fucking drilling right into Tom's fears the whole time.
This is good for me,
This
Cecil.
is the
Thank
best. This
you.
is going to be amazing.
It's going to be fun.
Thank
It's going to
you.
be a lot of fun.
All the essays are about things that happened.
You know, that's fair, Eli. That's fair.
It's like a call back and a call forward. It's crazy.
Exactly.
So the interesting thing is there's no one theory on how or why the societies around that time collapsed. Many scholars don't think it was one thing, but a series of individual disasters, wars, and climate anomalies that caused that era to take a tailspin.
Oh, okay, good. We're going to be fine. Yes.
What could go wrong?
Voice of reason.
Before we collapse the Bronze Age, we should build it up. But let's actually start at what a Bronze Age is.
Couldn't have done this essay before I embarrassed myself in front of Dr. Dan McClellan.
Historians and anthropologists split our human timeline into ages. The ages can be categorized in different ways, like who was in charge of a land or a region, major conflicts during those times, etc. Or, as in this case, they can be categorized by the technological advancement. The period before the Bronze Age was the Copper Age, and the period after was the Iron Age. These ages were named for the use of a certain material used in weapons and tools. If you were wondering what age we're in now, it would be the information internet age or the silicon age. And a future age could be something like the graphene age or perhaps a nanotech age or the AI age.
Yeah, the age of Ultron. That's what we're in. That's fun.
I love y'all's techno-optimism. To be clear, it could also be the fucking stick age or the radioactive pustule age or something.
Yep.
Yeah, my bet is going to be on the no one left to name it or the Tom was right all along age. I don't know. Could be either one.
You don't win anything by being
Ions
right about
flying
it, Tom.
everywhere. Electricity was a mistake.
we name an age after the things we use for weapons. We are in the internet age. Good.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are in the information. We did it, everybody.
All having
So
fun.
in order to have a Bronze Age, you need bronze. What is bronze? Well, bronze is an alloy that's mostly copper with about 12% tin. Adding copper to tin makes the metal harder and more durable than copper alone. Both copper and tin have lower melting points than iron, and the tech at the time really couldn't get iron hot enough to be widely usable. There's another way to make bronze, adding arsenic instead of tin, and this was widely used too. And yes, the vaporization point of arsenic is lower than copper, so chronic arsenic poisoning from smelting could have been prevalent.
You know there was one blacksmith who insisted that was just a conspiracy by Big Tin.
Tin doesn't burn that.
Yeah, he's over there like, I'm pissing blood because I've developed a natural arsenic immunity. That's what I've done. That's why I'm pissing this blood.
Making bronze would require mining of those two different ores, and that would require trade. And this era had quite a bit of trade, and in turn, an interconnectedness of multiple societies. The region had the Egyptians, the Mycenaeans, the Minoans, the Hittites, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Cypriots, the Trojans, and the Canaanites. While Society A might not be directly connected to Society B, they would both be connected to Society C. This creates a network of interconnected societies, trade, and communication that's much different than just a group of isolated kingdoms that would only get together to fight each other once in a while.
Yeah, it's like a really complicated version of the hen, fox, and the grain, and 9 different racist states with like a web of their own bigotry towards each one. But there's actually an answer. We get to an answer.
Yeah, no, and that answer is usually money.
Trading a
The
lot of straw
Cypriots
for
hate
bricks.
the Trojans. The Trojans can trade with the Egyptians. They don't fuck the Egyptians when they trade. So they can have a thing.
Copper mostly came from Cypriot and the tin from Afghanistan. The tin would have to be mined and then travel long distances overland to get to the Mediterranean Sea, and then it would be traded with cultures there. You can think of the need for tin like our current need for oil. It would have been constantly in demand and a product that a large society would need in abundance to keep functioning at the same level. So the trade of this ore was vital to the Bronze Age societies.
Yeah, did it also involve convincing a credulous nation to believe that sometimes invading another sovereign country wasn't an unprovoked attack, but instead a preemptive defense?
It probably did, actually. Yeah.
Like ancient Rumsfeld is like the best defense you could offer.
Well, there's the unknown Cypriots and the known Cypriots.
Also important is that this trade route to the Mediterranean was fragile and somewhat unique. So if it were to fail, then the cultures of the area would be without a lot of the raw material that made their lives sustainable. The armies of the land would be without weapons. The tools and everyday items would not be made or sold, and other tools for agriculture and farming wouldn't be around in abundance, possibly halting production and causing problems with the food chain.
Ancient people are so stupid. Can you imagine basing the function of your entire society on a finite resource controlled by your enemies?
So dumb. So dumb.
We would never do that.
But it's a great reminder to those like live off the land types that if we all did that, like we couldn't even achieve Bronze Age levels of shit. Okay.
If the TikTokers are lying, we're in a lot of trouble. Okay. I'm pretty sure they're the best farmers in the universe.
So what else was being traded at the time? Well, there was actually a shipwreck that we found dating to this time frame that was loaded with either trade goods or it was a gift to a ruler of one of these lands. It's called the Uluburun shipwreck. It was loaded up with raw copper and tin ingots, about enough to make 11 tons of bronze, jars from Canaan filled with glass beads, and others filled with pistachio resin, hippo ivory, tortoise shells, ostrich egg shells, pottery, a trumpet, beads of amber, quartz, gold, and other jewelry, and a bunch of various weapons and tools. It also was carrying various foodstuffs like olives, pine nuts, cumin, coriander, and grapes.
How did the trumpet get in there? That was weird, right? Some guy's like, all right, we got a deal if you throw in the shiny ass funnel. So what? It's called trumpet. If you throw in the trumpet.
Hippo ivory feels like something Tom would have a desk made out of, right? I think that's what you're...
Okay, and now I have a new item to add to my Amazon wish list. Thank you, Eli.
That's right. This sampling of items has been traced back to other locations in the Mediterranean at the time, showing that the people of that era got a certain thing, like glass, from a certain place, Mycenae. One place would be the main producer of some of these items, and that became their export in this complex trade system that existed between these city-states.
Right, and left them all the way fucked in the case of a siege. Right, they're like, good news, guys, we got enough glass beads to make it until the fucking Iron Age. The bad news, though, is everything else.
All the other stuff. Yeah.
Stop listening after glass beads. Let's start the butt stuff party.
Let's get going. You guys do a line of this hippo ivory yet? Fucking ass.
I got a good ass funnel. Is that helpful right now with the beads? Do they fit?
Everything fits with enough lube.
Now the ass funnel's off key.
Now, this collapsed time frame is actually an era in history where modern people know some of the players. Ramses III was the pharaoh at the time, but about 70 to 100 years prior was the reign of Nefertiti and King Tut. This was also the time when the biblical Exodus would have taken place. It probably didn't. And it would have been the time that the Trojan War and the fall of Troy would have occurred.
Okay, Cecil, I can't believe you're casting doubt on his story just because there's no evidence it did happen and plenty of evidence it couldn't have happened. Why do you hate freedom, Cecil?
Ew. Haven't I been through enough, Cecil?
This land would have flourished in this balance of power for centuries like this. Sure, there were wars between these city-states, and there were passing good and bad times, but for the most part, there was an equilibrium for those centuries until we get to about 1200 BCE. At that point, things start to go tits up, and the Bronze Age settlements in the Mediterranean begin to wink out of existence one by one.
All right. Well, it looks like we got our Bronze Age, and we'll get our collapse after a little apropos of nothing. And so I said to her, you're not an oracle. Why would I ask you?
Woof. How'd that go?
It went awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did you expect, though?
What? She's not an oracle, though.
Hey, fellas.
Oh, hey, Egalicus. What are you wearing? What is that?
Oh, this? It's my bread mail.
What's bread?
Okay, it's the latest thing. Those scientists down at the granary hooked me up. I'm telling you guys, they're going to be calling this the bread age soon. You should really get on board.
Right. I mean, that stuff looks great, but I don't think it's going to be like armor. Right?
It's not just going to be armor. How about one of these?
You made an
Sure
axe?
did, So, yeah, watch out.
Cool.
Is it?
May I?
Oh, I mean, sure, but be careful because I've actually been sharpening that all.
Yeah, this is actually delicious.
Okay, you're not supposed to eat the axe version of it.
Really? Seems like you're using this stuff wrong. man.
Good. You guys got to try some.
No, I am using it right. You guys are afraid of change because it's the start of the bread age, and I'm ahead of the times. This is bread age. We're doing.
I mean, I'm scared of it.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, yeah, no, that tracks.
Put some meat in there, like tween it. Oh, good.
Ooh.
Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.
And we're back. When we last left off, society was doing great. So Cecil, you want to pop that bubble for us or what?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. So what the hell happened? We have this bustling group of trade partners all holding power in the area, and they all start to die off. Do we know what caused it? Well, not really. We have ideas and theories on why these city-states in the Mediterranean did collapse at the time, but no definitive answers. One of the leading researchers on this time frame, Eric Klein, wrote an op-ed in the Huffington Post a few years ago entitled "The Collapse of Civilizations. It's Complicated." And he thinks that there were a lot of factors that went into this collapse, and we'll go over each one.
Sorry, the Huffington Post thought an op-ed was necessary for history happened for a variety of reasons.
More complicated.
Was it a slow week over at HuffPo?
It's in response to people like Tom saying the society's going to collapse tomorrow. That's what it was.
So I have a theory. It's about guns, germs, and steel. Fuck you. Pick one. No.
So the first and foremost problem at this time is drought. This idea was originally suggested in the 1960s, but we really didn't have any way to confirm that there was drought at this time. Researchers in the last few decades have found that, in fact, there was widespread drought. First, researchers found in core samples pollen counts that can help them determine the level of vegetation at the time. They saw that in some of these sites, there were hundreds of years of less vegetation, and thus hundreds of years of drought. One researcher started to collect each of these instances and pin them all together and found that region-wide there was generational drought.
Okay, but like hundreds of years of drought is just y'all are a desert now, right? That's not a drought anymore. That's just... Like, I feel like these societies are just floating around in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for a couple hundred years going like, well, but wait until you see low tide. It's going to be great.
Ben Shapiro's like, this is just a drought. It's a temporary drought.
For there to be water here would be a disease. Yeah.
Drought was not the only factor in the collapse, though. There were other factors. Another bit of reading I did suggested that at the time, a large volcano in Iceland, Helka, erupted, and it shot about 2 cubic miles of rock into the atmosphere. There could have been severe cooling and climate change due to this explosion.
Yeah, and the really big cube of rock probably landed in a bad spot for trade. Everything up. Right, Cecil?
Another researcher suggested that cooler Mediterranean waters lead to less rain and more arid years. So it's possible that these two things are linked in some way.
It's cold, but it's a dry cold, so we'll probably be fine.
Another idea is that the collapse comes at the birth of the Iron Age. And that's more of a reason than a progression. Iron was too hard to melt and use for human history up until this point. But as forging technology advanced, it became easier for more people to create iron tools, and it became easier for these people to turn iron, a somewhat brittle metal, into steel. Iron was a lot more plentiful than tin and copper, so there was no need for complicated trade routes and trading partners. And city-states that ruled with an army that was outfitted with bronze was less scary to a populace with better access to iron and steel.
Okay, I feel like Cecil knows this based on sword fights that he's actually had in real life.
Cecil, is this whole essay based on an argument you've been having with yourself in the shower ever since someone said something snarky to you at a Renaissance fair? You have to tell us. You do have to tell us.
I do not have to tell you.
Cecil shows up at like Assyrian LARPing UFC or whatever the fuck it's called, and he's like, Iron Age, motherfuckers, Damascus sword. He gets banned for jumping ahead a little bit of the timeline. Goes home. It's like, this was the Bronze Iron. I'm writing an episode
I love the thought of being the first scholar that had to present this idea, though, right? You go in front of some stuffy board of PhDs or whatever, and you're like, okay, so have we considered that maybe the Bronze Age ended because, because bronze kind of sucks?
So one of the biggest factors blamed for the collapse of the Bronze Age is the Sea Peoples.
Ugh, is this the woke version of semen? Because if it is, I'm a Republican now. This is my line.
This is a group of possibly marauding, possibly migrating boat warriors that laid waste to several kingdoms during this time. We know this because there is mention of these people, who were actually a confederation of people rather than one group or nation, in letters between these rulers. Ramses III names these people in records and says that they were the Shardana, the Shekelesh, the Jeker, the Denyen, the Weshesh, and the Peliset. Now, these words obviously meant something to Ramses, but we have no idea who these people are today.
Okay, you need the slur word Rosetta Stone to figure it out.
You rang.
I feel like, well, Eli probably knows it. I feel like it was something like, pirates or something like that. Something.
Yeah,
Let me check in my notebooks. Move on. I'll let you know.
Now, we do know what
Giggle
they look.
cluster.
You got this. You got this. What was it?
We do know what they look like because Ramses III has an image of captured Sea Peoples on his temple in Medinet Habu. They had some kind of decorative headdress or helmet. Some of these people had helmets with horns.
Okay, wait a minute. They were invaded by the Royal Order of Water Buffalo from the Flintstones? That's our going theory right now?
They're just in a boat. Their legs are out the bottom and they're running as fast as they can. One of them also on this picture, clearly has a dislocated shoulder because human upper bodies aren't supposed to move like that. But in any case, we have Ramses III account of how he whooped the shit out of this group of people. And he did so a couple of times. And we can read his account of this battle. Quote, "The chiefs, the captains of infantry, the nobles, I caused to equip the river mouths like a strong wall with warships, galleys, and barges. They were manned completely from bow to stern with valiant warriors bearing their arms, soldiers of all the choicest in Egypt. I, King Ramses III, was made a far-striding hero, conscious of his might, valiant to lead his army in the day of battle."
Feels like his teleprompter's about to go out. He's going to start talking about beating up a shark army on his own.
Nobody had ever asked this question before.
"Those who reached my frontier, their seed is not. Their heart and soul are finished forever and ever. Those who came forward together on the sea, the full flame was in front of them at the river mouths, while the stockade of lances surrounded them on the shore. They were dragged in, enclosed, and prostrated on the beach, killed and made into heaps from tail to head."
He's trying to sell this as this genius stratagem, but his plan was just line up a bunch of boats and have more spears than they do. Relax, Ramses the Third, far-striding hero.
Have more people is a valid strategy. I will die on this hill.
That's what we
By
use
the way,
on this
Chariots
podcast.
of Fire made sense. I feel like there actually were those
Yeah,
in this moment.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I didn't know what you were humming. I was just trying to guess.
I thought it was like the Battle Hymn of the Republic or something.
I thought it was maybe a fishing song based on what was happening.
Oh, no, that's the Marseillaise.
You needed
That's the French
you needed
national-
someone in the background to do the.
Yeah, that would have helped.
Text me next time.
Wait, what's the battle hymn? Is that the same?
There
it is.
Oh yeah, that's the battle.
Okay, yeah.
So you're all probably thinking, wow, if he won and turned the Sea People back, then what was the big deal? Well, Egypt was one of the two civilizations to actually survive the Bronze Age collapse. Other countries did not fare as well. Ugarit, a city on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean, just east of Cyprus, sent several clay tablet letters to each other, each more alarming than the last, talking about the invaders from the sea. Quote, "My father, behold, the enemy's ships came here, my cities were burned, and they did evil things in my country. Does my father not know that all my troops and chariots are in the land of Hadi, and all my ships are in the land of Luca? Thus the country is abandoned to itself. May my father know it. The 7 ships of the enemy that came here inflicted much damage on us."
Dad, You said you'd buy me more chariots. God. You got beat up so bad by pirates. It was the worst. They were racially diverse. Write me back. I love you.
Here's another quote.
Dad.
Quote.
I love you. Dad.
To the king, my lord. Quote, to the king, my lord, say thus, Amalrapi, your servant. I wrote you twice, thrice, 3 times a lady, news regarding the enemy.
I don't like missives. I just don't like missives.
May my lord know that now the enemy forces are stationed at Rasu and their avant-garde forces were sent to Ugarit. Now may my lord send me forces and chariots, and may my lord save me from these forces of this enemy.
Okay, so I looked up the etymology and I get it now, but when I first read avant-garde forces and I pictured this fabulously dressed contingent of the sea people, I got super excited, but it turns out that's...
Yeah, I did not look it up, Noah, and I'm still picturing a mental image of an attack from like a troupe of performative dancers in black turtlenecks, and nobody can stop me from that. That's...
Kick, jazz hands, torch.
Yoko Ono.
How did that become avant-garde as the term after it was a military thing? But it's before garde, right? In French?
I didn't look up the avant.
You feel really combative right now.
Why did it turn into like that style of like edgy art or whatever?
I have no idea.
Do you want an answer or you want to look it up? You want time to look it up or?
No, I thought maybe we'd discuss it together in our show.
Weird.
Okay.
There are several other archaeological finds that show a thin layer of soot, arrowheads, and destruction around this time in other cities along the coast, indicating to some that the sea peoples had pretty good run of destruction before they decided to sail up the Nile Delta.
Yeah, how total is the destruction that thousands of years later you're digging around and you unearth destruction?
I mean, like, it's like a layer of sediment.
Yeah, that's why, like, how are you like,
this
dirt looks pretty destroyed up, huh? Or like a long time ago, destroyed up.
Oh, the dirt nerds are so mad at you right now, man. Dirt nerds.
You're gonna
at
get
home
so
are
many
mad.
fucking messages. I can't wait. I'm forwarding them all to
in
you
their
too.
backyard right now.
Citationpod@gmail.com, dirt nerds.
That's
Just stick a knife in the ground. They taste it. Something bad. This was destruction.
Like wiping your tongue on your shirt for a half an hour afterwards.
Yeah, right.
You guys know where the term avant-garde came from?
It's possible that this coalition of forces was not intentionally warlike, but more migratory. Their lands were overcome with drought and famine, and thus they left their lands and came to new ones, and they were not welcomed in it because those lands were overcome with drought and famine. They may have been like an ever-growing katamari of migrants rolling from place to place, eventually getting more and more hostile, and eventually becoming a formidable force.
Okay, I like when Cecil does the old-timey war stories, and they're also aspirational. Kind of like, we deserve to get beat up so hard in the U.S. because of the economic situation.
yeah.
of
I've
the
actually
world.
been sitting here with an atomic wedgie the entire recording.
Yeah.
Oh, you meant
Right.
our economy.
All-
Never mind. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Although $5 says that the sentence "ever-growing katamari of migrants rolling from place to place and eventually getting more and more hostile" shows up in a Trump fundraising email.
That's fair. Yeah.
Now that it's out.
Have you guys
I'm going to be
that
super cool about the migrant army that attacks us that we deserve. Like, we're going to be getting taken
Especially
over.
if it's a katamari.
You guys are like, you're like the woke pirates from the Bronze Age. This is really, we did a podcast about we deserve this. I deserve to get beat up. Yeah. Cheers to you.
Before you do, do you guys know when the phrase avant-garde moved from a military distribution? Oh, you're cutting my head off. Okay, I just thought maybe one of you might know.
Another possibility is that while some of these states dealt with the new invading sea people from the coast, traditional enemies in nearby lands might have used this as an attack of opportunity and invaded or attacked these already weakened or occupied states. Another suggestion is that there was what they call an earthquake swarm. This happens in an area on or around a fault line when all the lands around the fault lines get caught up and don't release all the pressure in the fault. So there can be a disastrous earthquake, and then weeks or months or years later, another earthquake in the same spot or region until the fault releases that pressure completely. So cities might have had time enough to just rebuild to get knocked back over again.
Okay, there's got to be one that happened at like the worst timing. Somebody's like, finally, a city made of arsenic dominoes is rebuilt. Just going to set up the ribbon, grab the big scissors for this. Oh, come on!
Many researchers that study this time period think that all these factors combined to collapse several large populations of ancient people. Some of these cities and cultures died forever, and others survived in a much more weakened state. The Assyrian Empire did survive like this, and so did the Egyptians.
Okay, the drought is going to end soon, and the double earthquake, that was bad luck. We're going to rebuild one more time. What? But you guys are looking at me weird. There's 2 cubic miles of rock in the sky right behind us. Come on.
This plunged the area into a dark age.
Which was a weird thing to mine and then make weapons of. Just the dark. Just odd.
I liked it, Tom. I liked your joke, Tom. I liked it, Tom.
What you said they were named after. I was paying attention, is what I want to point out. I was paying attention.
No, you did your homework.
This was where societal communication and cooperation were minimal. It was also around this time that the Dark Ages led to poems and stories about a golden era of the past, and myths of that time began to circulate, which is when we get Homer's Odyssey and Iliad. It would be several centuries before the area would recover, giving birth to several new societies and city-states, places like Athens and Carthage, and in 900 BCE, the citation-needed mascots, the Etruscans, would burst onto the scene, hoping for a mention in a podcast 3 millennia in the future.
Okay, first of all,
we got you.
I am the mascot for this podcast, Cecil, and they didn't burst onto the scene. They stepped through their time-traveling doors.
Okay, my favorite anecdote that I found while researching this is that the ancient Greeks, when they were looking at the runes of Mycenae, could not believe that humans that lived 300 to 800 years before them could move rocks that big or build walls like that. So instead, they thought that the ancient Mycenaeans were helped by Cyclops.
Really? Did they?
Straight to Cyclops.
They went straight to Cyclops.
Right.
Straight to Cyclops.
Interesting.
Did they build without depth perception? Is that why? Just
Keep putting on the fucking block in the wrong place.
Sorry,
Back a little. I don't know what back means. I don't know what back means.
What if 2 of you stood next to each other?
All right, so if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, so what would it be?
Civilizations fail for a lot of reasons, and you can't take it with you, so become a patron on a per-episode basis today.
There it is.
And are you ready for the quiz?
I am. Let's do this.
All right, Cecil, what should historians call the Trump era?
Oh, no.
A, the Stop the Steal age. B, the Magnesium age. C, the Cooper age. Or D, the Age of Treason.
Oh, they're all so good.
go.
They're all so good, but I love the first one. A, Stop the Steal Age.
Correct. Well done.
all right, Cecil. When future generations, thousands of years from now, write about our own imminent societal collapse, what will they blame it on? A, something Tom has been warning everyone about for years. B, something Noah made me read about, which has haunted my every waking moment since. C, something Noah made me read about, which has haunted my every waking moment since, caused by something Tom has been warning everyone about for years.
You realize that this "I told you so" moment is going to be really short.
is.
It's going to be so quick. It's going to be so quick.
Well, it's here.
So quick.
That's
It's going to be
microseconds.
It's definitely C. It's definitely C.
Secret is, yeah, any of these.
It's-
Really,
it's
any of
C.
these work.
Yeah, it's C.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. All right, Cecil, I have a question for you. So the answer to the question, gee, why is it that the first time societies organized themselves into an interdependent intercontinental trade coalition that required resources from far-flung locations to make the basic necessities for life, isolated geographical problems got horrendously amplified, leading to centuries of deprivation to the overwhelming majority? It seems easy to me, right? Like, that doesn't seem like a super complicated question. And yet, the answer that I was thinking of didn't show up anywhere on your list. So My question is, why are scholars so reluctant to just admit the obvious on this one? A, no reason, really. B, we're doing great, actually. C, not that that's related. Or D, maybe genetic drift, huh? So it could have been genetic drift.
The collapse of civilizations, it's complicated. I just want to say somebody wrote a HuffPo post about it.
That's
Secret
breaking news
answer,
right
Ian.
there,
Breaking
Cecil. Let's see if
news,
the New
baby.
York Times has some
We should
column
really
space.
be, yeah.
Eric
right,
Klein,
this
call
should be
me,
an
baby.
op-ed.
Tell the people. Cecil,
Yeah.
the graphene, AI, and nanotech ages all sound pretty cool. But what should this period of time actually be called? A, the misinformation age, the oil age, or the Facebook special, the underage.
Yikes. Yikes. I don't have to answer this if I don't want to, right, guys?
Yeah, I could just declare Eli the
You're
winner.
the winner,
'cause he's
Eli. You
so
win.
not even
Yeah.
wanting-
I win. Well, Cecil, Tom has been warning us about item C for a very long time. So I want an essay from him next week about the
All right.
person he hates most in all of history.
All right, well, for Eli, Cecil, Tom, and Heath, I'm Noah. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We're going to be back next week. By then, Tom will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, Cecil can teach you how to cook, or Eli can teach you how to parent. Your choice. Those are just several ways that we can intrude on your life. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod or leave a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you want to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com.
I can't believe you guys ate all my stuff.
So good.
Now I'm going to have nothing to fight with at the big battle tomorrow. I don't even have any arrows to shoot.
Most arrowheads these days are actually made of bone.
We heard you, man.
I'm just saying.
Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.